Strange is an understatement for Yorgos Lanthimos' new movie, but should we ever be shocked by looking at his previous films? His unique storytelling abilities is commendable, for he has no issue breaking out of the formulaic mould of traditional filmmaking and instead crafts a otherworldly atmosphere with his use of green screens and set designs. And with that brave boldness, he has been showered with the utmost praise for his new feature film, Poor Things. A critical darling at the moment, Poor Things has catapulted to be the best film of 2023 for a lot of people. Rave reviews have been non-stop since the film screened at film festivals, and the momentum it has gained has delivered Emma Stone to the top of the pile for awards as she brilliantly puts in a performance of her life as the movie's main character, Bella. Bella was a pregnant woman that jumped off a bridge in hope of ending her life, which she succeeded in, but for her, a mad scientist named Goddard, played by Willem Dafoe, takes her to his lab and for an experiment, he inserts Bella's unborn baby's brain into her to see the results of what would happen. And what does happen is Bella, a grown woman with a child's brain, begins to relive again. She has to relearn everything from walking to talking. Goddard notes her progression, claiming that she is mentally growing at extraordinary speeds. With that comes curiosity about the world she has not seen. Bella is constrained in her environment because Goddard is fearful of what the world will think about her, this lady that is very different to everyone else. But Bella convinces Goddard that she must leave his home and go travelling, and she does so with a divorce attorney named Duncan Wedderburn, played by the brilliant Mark Ruffalo, where they travel city to city, and doing so allows Bella to understand the world around her and, more importantly, about herself. It is a big understatement to say that Poor Things is a very peculiar film, and I didn't originally appreciate it when I watched it. To be honest, I didn't know what to really think about this film, as there is a lot that goes on, many themes that clearly went over my head. But after a few days of pondering, I have found a fondness for Poor Things and the story it is trying to tell. Poor Things is one of those films where each person can find a different meaning attached to it because it is so rich with visual symbolism and concepts. But the one that came to me was the idea of body ownership. Bella is a character that for the majority of this film never truly owns her body, and what I mean by that is she always has someone that seems to claim her as their property. At first it is Goddard who comes into possession of Bella as she rests on top of London's Thames water lifeless. From there he kept her in his home and never allowed her to leave, because that way his experiment of putting Bella's child's brain in her can be monitored in an environment he has control over. For that, his creation became his property. It divulged into a relationship where Bella became more of a pet, such as his other creations, than a person, teaching her tricks rather than allowing her to live a full life. That sense of owning Bella becomes stronger by the fact that he was ready to marry her off without her consent to his assistant Max McCandles, as if she is something that can be given away like a puppy. However, when she leaves with Duncan to go Portugal, she slowly becomes more free than when with Goddard, because at least she can leave the home and visit new places. This gives Bella a sense of false optimism about Duncan. But Duncan also feels a sense of ownership over Bella, which is shown by his jealousy for when she goes out without him or when she makes new friends as seen on the cruise. One of them, Harry Astley, even comments to Duncan about his upset behaviour when Bella tries to make a friend with the old lady. Duncan's immense possessiveness over Bella is his belief that she must always be with him and that no one can even look at her, as shown by his violent reaction to the old man winking at Bella. He at first becomes a toxic comfort that tries to manipulate her, and it works because she stays with him. For her, it is more freedom with him than she had with Goddard, so there is a positive outlook on it, which blinds her from the fact that Duncan is a horrible person. But after finding that out and getting immensely turned off by his jealousy, she leaves him to then work in a sex house where she gets an even greater sense of freedom, a more liberating one where she feels more in control of herself, which is shown through her sexual antics, a sign of a visceral freedom that she admires. But even then, the manager of the establishment owns the use of Bella's body. Bella cannot choose who she sleeps with, so when feeling even more free, she is still shackled to someone else. Her final owner is Bella's first husband, Alfie Blessington, a rich man that is horrible to everyone around him. Sounds similar to Duncan. The old Bella, the one that was fine with partaking alongside Duncan's ideas, might have stayed with Alfie, who was going to get a doctor to mutilate parts of her body. That old Bella might have gone along with that plan because it could be seen as an experiment similar to that of one of Goddard's. But this Bella, after exploring the world and her own body, is now ready to take control of her life again. Not to be taken in like someone's property, not to be experimented on, and not to be used. Bella has now accepted who she is and is now comfortable within her body, a body that wasn't even hers to begin with. The original Bella didn't even want her own body and was ready to take her life. And then another mind, her daughter's mind, inherited this body, and she doesn't even own that body herself. But through her own experimentation of just living life, she becomes her true self. Her journey is about the acceptance of who she is, and that is why Alfie could not sway her to commit to his evil act, because Bella in that moment became Bella. The opposite of her is Goddard, a character that she calls God, and what we think of God is omnipresent, omnipotent, and a perfect entity. But Goddard is the warning about when you do not allow yourself boundaries and accept that other people can use your body to their liking. His father constantly experimented on him, which was essentially torture, removing parts or crushing his fingers, and it came to the point that Goddard is no longer himself, but instead a hot pot mess of his father's failed studies. Goddard is what Bella could have been if she accepted that her body was not hers and hers only. Poor Things is a wonderfully eccentric movie about our right to our own body, and that's a message that holds a lot of relevance in today's time. We just have to look at the anti-abortion laws that make it nearly impossible for women to decide how to handle their own bodies, and look no further than trans rights being diminished and ridiculed for people just wanting to be comfortable in their own bodies. And so I watch Poor Things with a sense of admiration, because under the flamboyance of visual mastery is a tough story about our relationship with our own bodies. A lot of us do not feel comfortable in our own bodies, be it the way we look or feel. It is a sad part of growing up, and even as the years go by, there will always be that struggle to fully accept who we are. And so I look at Bella, and what I see is a character that shows me the power in loving who you are. So I ask the question to you: who owns your body?